Moon Boys now on life alert as Bitcoin continues its battle to overcome the $30,000 price level. There are massive, striking similarities between now and the past that will leave you shaking in your boots. And for the last 3 days, Tether has been extremely quiet as fears of a Luna-style pegging arise. But do you know what this could really mean? I'm full of Magoo and ready to show you something very, very big and potentially very, very exciting and dangerous in these charts. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those ghost notifications to receive these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And as well, if you guys are interested in any bonuses, deals, make sure to check out everything pinned in the description and comments below. My only Twitter is also linked here, as well as my only Instagram. And without any further Magoo, let's dump on it. So ginormous that it hurts. Bitcoin right now, at this very second, is actually right around the $30,000 level, as it has been for days, after a gigantic wick that we saw. But there are so many things that we need to be talking about. First and foremost, I think most interesting is this. If the US dollar would weaken compared to these other currencies, this is beautiful. So obviously the DXY is the highest that it's been in 2 decades. And it has actually seen its first little roadblock in multiple weeks, for the first time in multiple weeks, right around this level where we just peaked our little tips above this previous resistance, right at about 103, 104, went all the way up to about 104.9. But yeah, if we start seeing resistance here, guys, bullish scenario number 1 would be this. If we actually do see this trend down over the next month or two, that would be insanely good for our piggy banks, for people investing in not only crypto, but also, you know, other indices or the stock market as well. So I think a lot of people are rooting for that to happen. That's just, again, one thing that I'm absolutely going to be keeping an eye on to see if we get a big intraday or a big daily dump candle here. It would be absolutely very promising. But as well, what we've seen now, the entire crypto market cap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 straight, completely dumpy red weekly candles. And you know, if I just look back on this chart, you don't really see that. Even the crash we saw back in March of 2020, it was 3 red weeks. That was it. It was 3 red weeks. I mean, I don't really even know how far I'd have to go back to find 7. Meaning, this is like the dumpiest for the longest amount of time without any bounce whatsoever in recorded history, potentially since the beginning of time. You'd have to go back to the early Cretaceous period, potentially when dinosaurs and T-Rexes were roaming the land to find something like that. But before we continue with the Bitcoin price charts here, the Fear and Greed Index hits lowest level since that March 2020 crash, showing extreme fear as Bitcoin price hovers around 30K. But many are buying the dip, absolutely. Guys, you know, it's funny. Honestly, the dumber you are, I think the more successful you'll be in crypto. And I think the best things I ever did in terms of investing were dumb, right? I absolutely was buying at that $3,000 to $4,000 low back in March of 2020. And it ended up being the beginning of like absolutely the biggest gainers my portfolio has ever seen times 100. But again, you have to be a little bit crazy to look at that as an opportunity, right? Although the more you study the space, the more you realize that's actually objectively exactly when you want to buy. But again, the big question now is that where we are right now? Are we in that exact scenario where yes, you would want to buy right now? So that's what we're going to be talking about as well. But you can see here the Fear and Greed Index as of today, updated today on the 18th, currently sitting at a 12 out of 100, showing extreme fear. Yesterday, it was an 8 out of 100, extreme fear. Last week, it was also a 12 out of 100, extreme fear. Last month, a 24 out of 100, extreme fear. This right here, extreme fear as far as the eye can see. So what does that mean? The market has been very dumpy. It has been... I mean, if this isn't capitulation, it has to be close, right? We're just seeing straight extreme fear, which is exactly what you want to see at the bottom. And as well, some very interesting things to note as well, you know, parallels between now and March 2020. Will this time be any different? So while March 2020 was a massive red candle dipping all the way down even below the 200-week SMA, getting very dumpy after a prolonged bear market that had already lasted, I believe, about 2 years. So it was already such a dumpy environment. there was basically no hope to be seen. But that was after a big blow off top. I don't think this pattern will repeat exactly. However, there are a lot of similarities here. Bitcoin had a straight shot down to the bottom of the current wedge formation and is now in a range that will eventually lead to another rise in price. Fear and greed obviously mimicking the same thing we saw back in March of 2020. So much value has also been shed here. 7.6 trillion, not adjusted for inflation, but still huge. You can see the dot-com bubble was a little under 5 trillion. Global financial crisis in 2008 was about 2.3. Then the March 2020 crash was 4.4, and then 7.6 on this current decline. However, again, it's not adjusted for inflation. So, it is very, very huge, but keep in mind it's probably not that big in comparison because of how rampant inflation has been. For example, as well, the S&P 500 made a 2% gain in 2 of the past 3 days, coming off of a 52-week low. This only happened back in March of 2009, or only happened most recently, March of 2009, right after the financial crisis, and then right during the financial crisis, and then March of 2020, during the massive collapse we saw there as well. And the 200 SMA is critical. Is it possible we go down there? Which, if we did, the 200 weekly is right around 22,000, where a lot of people are targeting. But, a lot of people are targeting something. Does that mean it's not actually going to get there? And actually, a few other things. We're going to get into Tether as well. But during the last bear market, Bitcoin reached a bottom of 3,000, roughly. And did anybody know that was the bottom? Did they believe it would keep dropping? Did they know it was the best time to buy? If we go back, this was that bottom. Back at the very end of 2018, we had a rally, which was a very nice pump during a bear market. Keep in mind, this was during a bear market. We saw a move from 3,000 up to 14,000, over 350% gains during a bear market. So keep that in mind. My point is there's absolutely opportunities for swing trades and gains during a bear market. Say we are in one, we've dumped this much already. Is it possible we get some sort of swing like that sometime soon? Well, again, I think we have to see some sort of swing. Even if this is a prolonged bear market, there will still be moves to the upside, just like we saw back in the previous bear market. So a bear market doesn't mean it only goes down and there's never a pump. But if you would define these last 7 months as a bear market, that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen literally no pumping whatsoever. And that is further highlighted by the fact that we are on our 8th red weekly candle in a row, which I don't even know if that's happened before. I don't know if we've had 8 red weekly candles in a row before for Bitcoin's chart. And again, if you found one, you'd have to go back pretty far. Even again, during the really dumpy bear market of 2018, you don't see that. We get a couple here and there, but you always see green and you always see bounce backs. But did people know that was the bottom? No. And again, during the crash that we saw, after we rallied up to 14,000, Bitcoin was trading right around 10,000. And then the crash of March 2020 brought us from 10,000 all the way down to about 3,800, a little under 4,000. And that was ultimately the mega bottom. We saw a very strong bounce, big increase in volume, very long wick, very similar to what we're seeing here. Okay. But this is a lower low compared to that higher low of back here. Again, structure is a lot different, but the similarities are absolutely there. Now, to the bullish side, I think there is going to be a pump, even if we're in a prolonged downtrend. There has to be a move to the upside, like I just stated. But if we can actually reclaim the mid $30,000 range, then we can obviously have that move back up to at least the $40,000 range. But again, that would just be the beginning of that bounce. Could it be a dead cat bounce? Absolutely. It doesn't mean we're automatically going to go straight to all-time highs. It just means that, we just there should be a bounce at some point. But the only thing I think that really could prevent something like that is Tether, which Tether not reporting its supply for 3 days, and its supply has also fell 8 billion in the 5 days before that. Is it possible Tether could be depegged? Again, I don't want to spread FUD because I don't think it's super likely yet, if at this point. But this is a narrative that has been heavily pushed since UST got depegged, because it would be much more devastating to the market than UST. Because again, Tether is fiat backed. It's not an algorithmic stablecoin, and Tether has been of concern for years and years and years. And a lot of people are hoping for that to happen, actually. And so there's a top thread for all the people hoping for Tether to die. What do you think is going to happen? People are saying, rip the Band-Aid off and Tether's all just baloney. Let's just get it over with. But I don't think people also realize what that would do to the market if people's fears about what USDT is were true. And again, nobody knows. Are they true? It could be all rampant speculation. But, if it would happen, one, that would absolutely green light many people to accumulate massive amounts, but also make way for a potentially much healthier crypto market moving forward. But, again, I don't want to speculate on USDT. People have been speculating on it for the past 5 or 6 years. As long as I've been in crypto, I've heard scare stories about USDT. But again, it is something that I think is worth noting. And it's basically the ultimate bearish scenario that could ever happen with Bitcoin. So that's why it's such a newsworthy topic, is because if there's one like mega bomb or absolute reach around surprise for the crypto space, it would probably be USDT imploding. Yeah, with Bitcoin still holding around 30K, again, I think we are going to be seeing a move over the next few weeks. I would be honestly shocked if we got this eighth weekly candle as red. I'm actually leaning heavily more towards this 8th weekly candle closing above 32,000. And we still have over 4 days until we get that close, so there's plenty of time. Even if this would trend lower over the next few months, regardless, I think we are going to get some sort of substantial bounce to at least 40,000 before that happens. But again, whatever happens with this, there is going to be an increase in volatility, and I think this weekly volume is the very first indication that we either are going to see a very big trend change or at least a massive increase in volatility, which again, I think heavily is going to lean to the upside, even if it is limited. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those ghost notifications so you don't miss these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. As well, if you guys are interested in any bonuses, deals, make sure to check out all of the links below. There's currently like a over $4,000 deposit bonus if you sign up with Bybit or Femex below. Both have large bonuses. Both have huge amounts of altcoins that if you're interested in buying or trading, right, you don't have to just trade. You can just accumulate coins there as well. They've added so many. I mean, even today I get emails like every day about new coins, new pairs on all of them. As well, if you're interested in staking our ADA, any of that, lots of great deals below. Without any further ado, it's for me.